Saya sebagai orang Indonesia sangat-sangat terkejut dibuat pengakuan oleh pasien dari Australia ini, guys. Benar-benar sangat mengejutkan ya. Yang wajib pula untuk belajar dengan semalam orang Indonesia, sekarang orang Australia. Lama-lama ini makin banyak ya dari negara-negara lain-lain untuk mempercayakan Malaysia sebagai Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Halo guys, kita berjumpa lagi ya di video ini. Tentunya saya selalu setia menyapa teman-teman semua di sana. Semoga kita dalam keadaan baik-baik saja, sehat senantiasa jasmani juga rohaninya, serta segala bentuk pekerjaan, kegiatan apapun aktivitasnya yang kita kerjakan di dalam maupun di luar rumah. Semoga diberikan kemudahan dan kelancaran oleh Tuhan Yang Maha Kuasa. Amin amin ya robbal alamin. Baik, di sini ada pembahasan lagi guys, pembahasan yang tentunya sangat penting ya, penting sekali. Ini yang kita bahas terkait tentang dunia kesehatan lagi guys. Nah, lagi-lagi dunia kesehatan ya guys ya, bahwa semalam saya mereaksi tentang dunia kesehatan juga ya, itu adalah orang Indonesia yang lebih mempercayai kesehatannya untuk berobat ke negara Malaysia guys. Nah, kali ini ada hal yang lebih mencengangkan lagi. Bukan orang Indonesia, namun ini adalah pasien dari Australia guys. Pasien dari Australia yang mempercayai kesehatannya atau dia berobat itu lebih percaya ke negara Malaysia. Nah, ada apa guys? Ada apa gerangan yang terjadi ya? Bahwa kita sama-sama mengetahui Australia adalah negara dan juga benua yang sangat maju guys. Sangat maju terkait ya, tentunya juga dunia medisnya sangat maju dan berimbang ya guys ya. Namun di sini keluhan dari pasien itu yang menyatakan dengan tegas dia lebih mempercayai hospital yang ada di Malaysia daripada hospital yang ada di Australia. Nih ada apa ya guys ya? Semalam orang Indonesia, sekarang orang Australia. Lama-lama ini makin banyak ya dari negara-negara lain-lain untuk mempercayakan Malaysia sebagai tempat mereka berobat. Namun di sini ada hal yang perlu dipertanyakan, bahwa pasien dari Australia guys ya, bahwa mungkin ya sebagian dari Anda mengetahui terkait tentang dunia kesehatan yang ada di Australia itu ya guys ya, tentu sangat maju, tentu sangat canggih. Namun pasien ini lebih percaya dengan medis yang ada di Malaysia. Ada apa guys ya? Ini menjadi pertanyaan ya dalam pikiran saya, tentu harus terjawab pada video ini guys ya. Ada apa dengan medis di Australia? Oke, kita akan langsung mereaksi video itu guys ya, daripada saya selalu bertanya-tanya dengan hal ini. Kita akan langsung masuk ke videonya. Ini videonya langsung saja guys ya. Jom.
Hey, I'm back in Malaysia and I'm feeling pretty sick. I'm stuck in bed for the next 3 days with a fever with the flu. It's not a bad view though. And that gave me the idea to talk about my experience with healthcare here in Malaysia, and particularly compare it to my experiences with healthcare in Australia. I think a lot of people have the misconception that Western countries have great healthcare and all these other benefits, while countries like Malaysia are lower tier. It's not true, and I'm going to tell you my experience in this video across 3 sections. First, the GP, the general practitioner, the everyday doctor. Specialists. I've consulted a specialist doctor in a hospital twice while I've been here in Malaysia over the last 2 years, and the experience has been amazing and very different to Australia. Third, I'll briefly discuss the insurance situation from what I understand and compare it to the experience again I had in Australia. So this video is targeted to foreigners who are interested in moving, living or working in Malaysia, just like me. I'm an Aussie expat and I moved to Kuala Lumpur 2 years ago. And on this channel, I share my travel and insights with you. So let's get into the video. First is GPs, general practitioners. This is your everyday family doctor that you go to whenever you have something wrong. In Malaysia, there are plenty of GPs and they're easy to find in your insurance app. You just book in, you show up, and usually you don't even have to wait. I went last night at 11 PM, no line, straight in to see the doctor. In general, I see a GP maybe once every 3 months, hopefully less, and every single time bar maybe one, there's been no line and I've been able to see the doctor very quickly. This is very different to Australia where usually
kita pause dulu guys ya. Saya sangat terkejut ya dengan pengakuan orang atau pasien dari Australia ini guys. Dia mengatakan untuk berjumpa dengan dokter spesialis di Malaysia itu sangat gampang ya, sangat mudah, bahkan itu pukul tengah malam. Namun kalau di Australia ya, itu bikin janji dulu. Bisa sampai 2 bulan hingga 3 bulan baru ketemu guys. Wow, saya baru tahu ini guys ya. Jujur saya baru tahu. Padahal Australia itu juga negara maju ya. Namun masih kalah ya di dunia medis di bidang ini ya guys ya. Terkait hal ini, terkait dengan pelayanan dokter spesialis ini. Ternyata masih kalah guys, Australia dari Malaysia. Baik, kita akan lanjutkan lagi. Saya penasaran apa saja yang akan dia katakan di sini ya.
To wait quite a long time to see a doctor. Even if you make an appointment, they don't stick to the schedule. Recently, I was on the Gold Coast over Christmas. There was a storm, and I was trying to see a doctor for a suspected hernia. I think we spent about 4 or 5 hours waiting in the medical center with 100 people ahead of me, even getting there at 9 a.m. just to see a simple doctor and get a scan. So very different experience in Malaysia. I would say the GPs are definitely much more accessible. The next major difference with GPs is how they serve you. Now, there's good and bad. You can tell the difference in quality or attention to detail. Typically, the doctors here will ask you only a few questions and simply prescribe medication, which is generally actually what you want for most things. I have the flu. I just wanted to know what it was, get the medication, and get out of there. The doctor did just that. In Australia, sometimes the consultations run for a very long time. You get a single prescription, they send you off to a pharmacy, you have to wait in a line at the pharmacy, and then you have to pay for the medication, even if you have private health insurance. Whereas in Malaysia, the GPs here act as a dispensary. You don't have to go to a separate pharmacy. You can get the medications right there in the GP from the doctor or their assistant. Now, in my particular case, it was quite interesting last night because the doctor prescribed me with about 5 different medications, which would never happen in Australia. You'd probably get one and also be recommended paracetamol to buy on your own. But this doctor just gave me the lot. I got about 5 medications from them. Here we go. You can see them all here.
Sudah jelas ya. Sudah jelas dia mengakui di sini bahwa untuk mekanisme yang begitu rumit itu terjadi di Australia. Namun tidak dia rasakan di Malaysia, guys. Ini untuk pengakuan orang asing. Apalagi untuk pengakuan dari orang asli Malaysia, guys ya. Bukan hanya mudah, namun juga murah ya. Oke, kita lanjut lagi, guys. Apa saja yang akan dia katakan? Kita play di sini.
It's all covered in the fee. There's zero cost. It comes under the insurance. Even if you don't have insurance, it's also much more affordable. I'll also put up the price list of other services that these GPs and doctors offer so you can get a sense of the local pricing if you were just to pay for it if you didn't have all-inclusive insurance. For foreigners or other people looking to visit or travel to Malaysia, it is very affordable, and healthcare, bar some major emergency, is probably not something you need to worry about. You should probably still get insurance, but if you don't, you'll probably be okay. You should be able to cover the cost. Whereas in Australia or the US particularly, if something happened to you and you didn't have insurance or you didn't have help, you might be screwed. So GPs in Malaysia are efficient, to the point, and they save you a lot of time because they prescribe and give you everything within the GP itself. So you don't have to go to a pharmacy or wait longer. Number 2, specialist doctors. This is what surprised me the most when I first moved here. In Australia, if you want to see a specialist doctor, an orthopedic, something like that, it's going to take you weeks, if not months, to book an appointment with them. I never understood why it was so complicated and ridiculous. And then when you finally did meet them, even if you had private health insurance, it would cost you a few $100s on top of that as the bill. So I've had some very expensive and stressful journeys with specialist doctors in Australia. Now in Malaysia, the experience could not be any more different. Specialist doctors are everywhere and they're not lower quality. These doctors are studying in Australian, UK, US universities. They've come back to Malaysia and they're practicing here. They are very friendly, well-spoken, and in no way worse than specialists or surgeons you would see in Western countries. That's why there's a lot of medical tourism in Southeast Asia, and Malaysia certainly is not cutting on quality. It's the quality and more. It's just a much more efficient system to back it up. Now let's talk about specific examples. Typically in Australia, if you need to get a scan or other tests done, you'll be referred to another specialist or another radiology department where it'll cost you more money. You'll need to book in for a scan and you'll need to go at a specific time at a future date. So overall, it's a lot of fuss, even if you have private health insurance. Now you might ask, well, why don't you just use the public health system, Medicare? Well, even though it takes up taxes and a lot of money goes into health in Australia, it's not being used efficiently because you're just going to be waiting for
Sebentar guys,
months.
padahal ini adalah orang Australia ya guys ya. Namun kalau berobat di Australia juga ada tingkat kerumitannya ya guys ya. Bahkan ingin bertemu dokter itu bisa sampai berbulan-bulan. Ini orang Australia loh ya, yang berobat di Australia. Bagaimana orang luar ya? Baik, kita lanjutkan lagi.
Now let's compare that with my experience in Malaysia. I've had to go to a specialist here 2 or 3 times. It's usually the orthopedic surgeon to get an opinion on joint injuries I pick up at the gym or while I'm doing physical activity. So I've done my knees, I've done my shoulder. Now to go see this specialist, you just rock up at the orthopedic hospital. There's one near me called Alti Orthopedic and it's amazing. You show up, you show them your app with the insurance and you get to see the specialist pretty much straight away. When I saw the specialist, he was very friendly and he sent me to get an MRI instantly. So I went down in the same building, got the MRI, and then when that was done, they sent it straight back to the specialist. I went straight back to the specialist. I didn't need to book in for another appointment weeks in advance. I got feedback from him and we were able to diagnose and go from there. It only took a few hours. And the best part of all of that is that it was completely free. It was completely covered by the insurance, so it cost me zero. The same process in Australia would have taken weeks, if not months, and it would have cost a few $100s minimum on top of the monthly payments for the private health insurance. That's ignoring the public system, which you're also paying taxes towards as well. Now you might ask, what about the hospitals? I haven't had to stay in a hospital, thankfully, overnight here in Malaysia, but my partner has, so I know a little bit about the experience. In Australia, I have had to stay overnight in a hospital 3 times. I had both my hips done as an operation as well as my sinuses. Now, even if you're paying for the private health insurance, typically that will only cover the hospital accommodation fee. It doesn't cover the surgery and the surgeon fees itself. So those operations easily cost me thousands of dollars each, and you have to pay for the anaesthetist and other medications separately as well, on top of the insurance, on top of the hospital fee, on top of the operation fee. So it ends up being an expensive exchange. And the only other alternative is to wait for Medicare, but again, that could take up to a year to slot you in and you get no choice over where you want to go and what surgeon you want to get. So it's not an ideal system. In Malaysia, she was admitted whenever she wanted. You could pretty much choose from the surgeon's schedule, got a private room, stayed there for 2 nights, and the beautiful thing is that the whole thing cost essentially zero because again, it was fully covered by private health insurance. In my opinion, this is what private health insurance should be, and Malaysia has got it right. Let's talk about insurance because it's a must. I wouldn't recommend the public healthcare system when it comes to serious things like operations and hospital visits in Malaysia. So I would definitely recommend, if you're a foreigner, if you can afford it as a local, definitely pay for private health insurance. Now in that case, what about my situation? I have AIA health insurance and it's fully covered by work. So I'm not paying for it out of my own pocket. It has been one of the most amazing benefits I've gotten from my workplace because of the reasons I just described. I haven't had to pay a single cent for healthcare since moving to Malaysia for these reasons. But I did have a look at how much it would cost, and it's also very interesting. I looked it up, and for a single, you can probably expect to pay up to 250 ringgit per month for a high quality standard of care private health insurance in Malaysia. So if we convert that to Aussie dollars, that's about $80 per month. Now in Australia, I was paying about $150 a month for the private health care I just described, which was far worse than the experience I've had here in Malaysia. So when it comes to insurance, I'm very confident you can be covered by the right policy that meets your requirements, that will blow you away compared to the Western health system. I hope that helped you. I know this was a hot topic, and I'd like to talk about healthcare here much more because it really has been one of the most important benefits I've had while moving to Malaysia over the last 2 years. My voice is feeling a bit rough, so I'm gonna go have a nap and enjoy this beautiful view. If you have any more questions or even have some unique insights as a local who maybe works in the industry, please comment below. I read them all. I will respond to you.
Dan demikian guys, video yang baru saja kita reaksi yang sangat mengejutkan. Saya sebagai orang Indonesia sangat-sangat terkejut dibuat pengakuan oleh pasien dari Australia ini guys. Benar-benar sangat mengejutkan ya. Ternyata bukan hanya negara kita ya. Jadi kita bahas hal-hal yang baik itu wajiblah untuk kita pelajari guys. Seperti dunia kesehatan yang ada di Malaysia ini adalah hal yang positif untuk menyelamatkan banyak orang, karena kualitas medis yang ada di Malaysia itu sudah tak perlu diragukan lagi. So, tidak ada salahnya untuk negara kita ini belajar hal positif tersebut kepada negara Malaysia. Itu tidak salah guys. Nah, ternyata itu bukan hanya Indonesia guys. Bukan hanya Indonesia, namun Australia pun mengalami hal yang serupa ya, yang tidak jauh berbeda dari Indonesia, yang wajib pula untuk belajar dengan atau kepada dunia medis yang ada di Malaysia. Wajib ya. Karena apa? Karena kita tahu di Australia itu lebih banyak orang di sana. Lebih banyak orang artinya apa? Lebih banyak orang yang pesakit, yang harus diselamatkan, ya, yang berbagai macam penyakit di sana. Mungkin itu kekurangan dokter juga yang ada di sana guys ya. Karena dia juga mengakui ya, saat untuk berjanji untuk menemui dokter di Australia, itu janji sekarang 2 bulan lagi mungkin baru bisa ketemu guys. Bayangkan ya, bayangkan satu mekanisme yang sangat rumit yang harus dihadapi oleh orang-orang Australia. Nah, insurance kita bahas. Bahkan per bulan itu di Australia bayarnya 150 hingga 250 US untuk satu insurance per bulan. Itu pun mendapat satu pelayanan yang tidak sebaik yang ada di Malaysia. Justru kalau di Malaysia harga insurans itu hanya 80 hingga 90 US dollar. Berbeda ya guys ya, jauh berbeda. Namun kualitasnya juga berbeda. Di Malaysia harga lebih murah bayar insurans, namun dapat pelayanannya itu yang sangat ekstra berkelas dibandingkan dengan negara Australia yang bayarnya begitu mahal, namun sama sekali tidak mendapatkan pelayanan yang ia harapkan. Tapi lagi-lagi kita tidak boleh untuk ngejudge semua dokter, semua dunia kesehatan ya guys ya. Mungkin ini hanya pelaku oknum saja atau kesalahan mekanisme yang ada di negara tersebut ya guys ya. Jadi ini jadikan pelajaran, wajib ya untuk kita pelajari juga bagaimana kehebatan, bagaimana kemajuan dunia medis yang ada di Malaysia. Tidak ada salahnya untuk kita pelajari demi kelangsungan hidup ya banyak orang di negara kita guys. Lebih banyak lagi orang yang diselamatkan, lebih banyak lagi orang yang akan berpikiran cerdas karena tubuhnya sehat. Baiklah guys, demikian tadi video aku. Semoga video ini bermanfaat bagi kita semua, dan aku mohon undur diri, mohon maaf jika ada kesalahan kata, kesalahan sikap pada Anda semua, mohon dimaafkan. Dan aku akhiri, wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.